Okay, true question. What was your favorite dog in the office?
Carl.
Carl's cute.
Definitely Carl.
He's such a beggar. He will only love you if you have food.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I love and hate about Carl.
Yeah, that's a good.
It just comes to you, it's like, do you have food? You're like, no, and it just goes without saying bye. And yeah, Carl. I really miss him. Yeah. All the dogs though. Also, Jana.
Oh, Jana.
Is
everybody
the
told
best.
me it's fat. She's fat, and that
She's quite fat.
But Brad was taking care of her recently, and she's not that fat. Like she wasn't. I was expecting a morbidly obese dog.
Yeah,
right?
okay, like not completely.
No, like he has her.
Still, yeah. She's still a bit fatty.
Yes, but.
But it's so fun.
She's cute.
Like there is a difference between German dogs and Italian dogs, as far as I've seen.
You mean
like
how they're raised? Or?
No, I don't know what it is, but German dogs, they don't care about people. When they see a person, it's just one more. While Italian dog, like, you know, every person is an excitement. They are so excited about it. They come to you.
Because maybe Italian people are more generous and they give more food, so the dogs are more excited when they see people.
And when they see, oh yeah, okay, they're like, oh no, it's German. It's not gonna give me food.
It's like
kind of.
Their expectations are lower, basically. You know, the German dogs are like, it's never gonna happen.
They're used to different behavior from you, I guess. Okay, look, Anna Zawininska, I had to write it down.
Yes, it's correct. It's a very Polish surname, so
Polish.
I don't blame you.
You come from Poland.
Yes.
I
do come from Poland. I don't live in Poland anymore. I currently live in Berlin. However, I was born, raised, and educated there. And after that, I went into different direction to work in different places, mostly abroad. So we can get into more details later. But yeah. Very Polish from background. I love old pierogis and all that stuff.
Pierogis?
Dumplings.
Dumplings?
Yes, the Polish dumplings.
That is fantastic.
Yes, and they have a bunch in Berlin. Yes.
Polish surname. So for Poland?
Yes, born, raised.
You moved away when you were really young?
Not so.
Yeah.
Correction.
Yeah.
I started traveling when I was about that age, but I still went to university in Poland, in Warsaw. And as soon as I graduated, I just moved away, worked abroad.
23, 24.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, and kind of did the same as well. And then where did you move at first?
My first.
Where did you go?
So I worked a little bit in private equity in Warsaw first, after I graduated. Very interesting, very different environment. That was my first job. Afterwards.
Private equity being, for who doesn't know, like
it's the people that it's the people who invest usually large sums of money. It's not like corporate investing or something else. It's a bit more
private people.
Yes, from private funds. Then I lived in Wrocław, which is in south of Poland, but I worked for Credit Suisse. And from there I traveled a lot to Switzerland because, well, you work with Swiss people. So you kind of, like, my team was in Switzerland, my team was in Zurich, which was quite cool.
Okay, sorry, I lost some part. So you were working still in Poland, but
traveling a lot
there.
Yes.
So not based in Switzerland. No. Okay, and then at some point you moved to Switzerland.
No, I spent a lot of time there, but after that I moved to Paris, where I did some marketing, but I had a lot of clients in APAC and other countries, to where I traveled, and then I moved to Berlin.
Oh, directly?
Yes, from Paris.
Okay.
That was a shock.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. Why was the shock?
Paris is very small when it comes to space and very expensive. And all of a sudden, I arrived in Berlin and I could have lunch.
There's a lot of space here.
Yes. And then you can get lunch under 10 euros, which is crazy. Compared
Still,
to Paris.
right? Like, when did you move to Berlin?
3 years ago.
3 years ago? Yeah, it didn't change much since 3 years, right? Like, I remember, 6 years ago when I first arrived, it was even cheaper. And you had more space, more opportunities, actually.
Really?
Now it's a little bit more expensive.
I hear that when people
everything.
talk about prices, like, oh, you have to pay so much for rent. But I arrived here with, low expectations. I paid for a 30 something or 40 square meter flat,
because your comparison was much more pricey and expensive.
So literally,
well, it's probably one of the most expensive. Right?
Yeah, it's double.
Paris.
Everything's double.
So like, I don't know, 60 square meters in Paris would be what, 1,500?
2,000.
Yeah, 2,000.
Easily.
Wow. So living alone there, it's
expensive.
It's luxury, basically.
And then you arrive and you can get a flat under €1,000 in Berlin. That's.
And this is still true.
It's
even
still
now.
True. I'm not saying for 500 or 400 euros. It's no longer the case.
Actually, even that. Yeah.
Really?
If you're there scouting and you look for the good offers, there are not so many, but you can even find €500.
I think Berlin is one of the most affordable capital cities that provides you with so many opportunities. Like compared to London, compared to, I know, Madrid or other places, they're more expensive when it comes to living on like the flat market.
That is, yeah, I totally agree with that, actually.
That's why I don't complain about Berlin and the prices like some people do.
Yeah, like having friends here that are from different, social groups,
Yes.
I could see that some of them are complaining much more because they used to be here like for 20 years, so they're actually born here, so they saw the prices going completely nuts. But for us, or for the standard of capital Europe,
but even
cities,
compared to
it's
other
fine.
German cities,
It's
when you
okay.
compare to Munich or others, groceries are much lower when it comes to cost. So even German people say Berlin is cheap.
That is true.
So I get it, prices go up, but you have to kind of compare to the other stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Berlin is really affordable.
So, Berlin affordable, so it seems like you're a lot about, the market and the business parts of stuff, and that's what you're talking about. And you, so you actually have a background in business.
Yes, business and international
What did you
relations.
study?
In the beginning, I studied business, and then I switched to international relations and political science.
So you moved from business like private equity, and now working in Paris as what?
Marketing manager.
Marketing,
and now as a product manager. So that is what I do currently.
What does a product manager do?
That's a very good question, and my parents probably still don't get it. A product manager is a person who works usually with a development team, with a group of engineers, and
software developers.
Yeah, and is leading an initiative, leading a group of people trying to build something, a feature, etc. So you are a mini CEO of a product, and your role is basically to determine clearly what needs to be built to benefit the company, what needs to be done, and then together with your team try to establish how and just ensure that delivery is there, but give them enough guidance and at the same time freedom so stuff happens.
So you have to have a lot of different skills, right? Like you have to have understand the technical parts of it, the human implication, business implications.
So that varies on the role, because you can be more technical or on the technical product manager side or more of a, let's say, standard product manager side. If you're a technical product manager, you really need to have a very strong technical background, understand all the nitty-gritty stuff to be really the partner.
Like how much
usually,
of that in detail? Like,
usually you have an engineering background.
Example?
Usually you're able to do part of, you're able to contribute to your team's work on day-to-day basis, also by coding and actually having engineering background.
All right.
So if you're technical, you're technical.
All right. But you're not technical.
I'm not.
Business. So like, why would a company then choose like a technical PM in a case or non-technical PM? Like,
because some projects,
how would you decide?
Some projects are more focused on building a specific solution that is not necessarily all customer facing, but it does benefit the company, how it runs or what it runs on. I don't know, image recognition, or image recognition system, right? It benefits the customer and the company, but it's so technical. It's a very specific project that you might need people specialized in it. Whereas, I don't know, when you're a product manager for a country, your key role is to understand the customer, and even though you're not necessarily technical, you can still contribute a lot to the team and team's work by providing understanding of the market, of the customer and the business, and what we need to do to succeed in that market.
So you will need actually both figures. You will need technical PM, and non-technical PM, sort of a mix depending on your needs as a company. All right. And then and I guess it also changes in the way you're seen by your team, and management. If you're technical or non-technical, because if you have a very technical team like engineers, but you're not technical, it could be tricky to communicate, right?
It is tricky, but I think that's where you need to understand what your role is. Like your role, anyways, you are the person accountable. If something goes to shit, it's on you. You have to treat it like, again, imagine a product, because you have a group of 10 people working on a product. There needs to be one point of contact for specific purposes and one person responsible for things. Because if everyone is responsible, nobody is, right? So to simplify things, imagine you're managing a business. You don't necessarily doing all the things. You're not necessarily doing all the granular nitty gritty, but you need to have a good overview of all the parts and be able to make some hard calls if you need to.
And can you give me an example of some hard call that you can make that is tricky?
Often,
what would be?
So often when you have a conversation about an ideal solution or a feature that you want to build for your customers, it's very clear what will provide value, but there's different ways of building it, right? And obviously, sometimes engineers want to provide the perfect solution that will work for years and years. And it might take months to develop, but you are a startup and you don't have the luxury of time. Like you're literally operating in months, not years. And sometimes it's more important to get something delivered that's not perfect, rather than just do things for the sake of doing, like 80% done is better.
I will search for it, but there is a German saying that talks about a horse, like it's better a horse that is not that good, that perfect, or like not having a perfect horse or something like that. I don't remember now. I'll search it.
But this is
okay.
So you sometimes have to make the hard call of telling your team, it's amazing, it's great, but we're not doing this. We're not doing it this way. Like even if sometimes that is borderline getting into how we do things, we need to make hard calls. Or if there's 3 features that you want to build, and I don't know, the team is excited about one, but you know that customers don't really care because you did research. You have to say, guys, no.
And there could be cases in which like, a team is working on something and we already start working on it and some other group is doing a research and the research says, that's actually something we don't need to do anymore. And they're really excited and you have to go to them and be like, actually...
It's devastating, but it's the hard call you need to make.
It could happen, right? Yes. Yeah. So like you get bad things from both sides. Like management is pushing maybe one direction, then you have a team that is pushing in another direction.
You need to. This is the best description I've heard actually from a colleague of mine at N26 where I used to work. That a product manager is a little bit of a shit umbrella from both sides. So you need to protect your own team that you work in day to day from some more problematic things. You need to help them just have clarity, but like they don't need to know all the implications of some stuff or to distract them. Like that's your role a little bit, to be the umbrella so they don't get too much.
So directing, protecting
a little bit, yes. Okay. Like providing enough information but not distracting. And then from the other side, the management, you need to help them understand, but so in a way that it's not too operational, so they understand the business value and communicate very clearly. But you're not giving too much. And obviously, if there's a situation where there's business pressure in a situation we need to do a lot and you talk to management and they say this has to be done, you need to express urgency to your team, but not make them feel stressed, right?
I guess that's like a very fine line and it's very delicate. It's like a lot of human, like soft skills, like actually, what they will call soft skills. Right?
That is why, really I don't have engineering background, but that is what I felt insecure maybe a little bit when I started doing product, because people talk about all the technicals you want to have. If you don't aspire to be a technical manager, you have to have a certain level of understanding, but a lot of soft skills are more valuable. And you need to know how to talk to people and communicate properly.
So right now you're working at Taxfix. There's this tax declaration application. You can file your taxes with the app.
Yes, we want to be
the authorities. That's really cool. I've actually been involved in that We were colleagues. That's how we met as well. And in Taxfix, you have technical and non-technical PM as well,
Correct.
right? You have a good balance of that. So like it's like Taxfix being a startup, it's probably different than a big company. Like what would be, in your opinion, like the main differences by being a PM or a marketing person, like in a startup like Taxfix versus a more corporate environment?
So
Things happen differently.
before we even get into that, I just want to say corporations are not always bad because people like to demonize them.
That's not what I'm saying.
No, I
It's
know,
maybe
I know,
different.
I know. But I know that there's this rumor. Rumor has it corporations are bad. In a corporation, because it's a big company, it more depends on the small team that you are within, because you will not meet everyone, and like that's a dream. Sorry, you're not gonna remember 4,000 people or 6,000 people, and you're not even gonna ever interact with majority of them. So some relationships are less personal in a bigger company because simply of the nature and size. But you still can have a nice relationship with your closest team and coworkers. Some processes, especially when it comes to big decisions, will take longer. And it's if you have a well functioning machine, something that works perfectly fine, and somebody proposes a change, obviously there are multiple people that will like to understand why, because it's a really good machine, right? And it works by itself. Versus in a startup, there's a slightly different environment because you're still trying to figure out what works well. So there's more place for smaller changes, iterations.
More still in the research phase of the company. And then you're hoping to become a corporate.
Yes. I mean, you're hoping that it will be something that will work by itself.
Working for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's fast. It's a faster paced environment. There's definitely more changes happening, which is a great thing, but not everyone feels comfortable with that. And it's more personal. It's true, because if you join at an early stage company, you get to know a lot of people.
Yeah, I've also seen this in some sort of a subculture of the startup scene, particularly in Berlin, but not only, like this demonization of the corporate.
But this is, I don't get this because
it's just funny.
When I lived in 26, because I worked there as well as a product manager, there was around 1,500 people, and people kept on calling it tiny little startup. Guys, it's not small anymore. Like, you can't have the same expectations as you have for a company that is just post Series A with just 10 people.
And 26 is a bank. Actually, as a banking license, so like I wouldn't call us a bank.
Yeah, it's a very unique big company, I have to say, because, and I say it with the most respect, because it works pretty well and it still has this startup vibe. But it's not, it's not tiny anymore.
Yeah. And coming back to Taxfix, why Taxfix right now for you? What do you find? Like, how is the culture here? Like, what do you find interesting? What is cool? I guess that's definitely a startup. So you get to know probably everyone very well. We're talking before about dogs, like a lot of dogs.
I know all the dogs. I know.
What's your favorite dog?
My own.
Okay.
Name? Yoda. I have a dog.
I haven't interacted with Yoda so much, actually.
No, because
most interaction with Carl.
I know. We all choose our dogs in the office. Carl is also cute.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, like, what do you like about Taxfix? Right? Actually, we are in the Taxfix new office.
Correct.
Very, very close to this. Let's call it the center of Berlin, Alexanderplatz.
Good location.
Yeah, even though locals hate it, but
that's true.
Tourists come here a lot. So yeah, tell me a bit.
So what did
you like about it?
So when I joined, I've always found finances interesting, and I find it ridiculous that they feel so far away from people when it's something that people use every day. Whether it's payments, like banking, like N26, or doing your own taxes, it should be such a normal thing, but it's so poorly explained, and there's a lack of understanding of how it works, and nobody really cares about explaining it properly and making it a little bit more human. So the idea of making an industry is something that is so basic and happens to all of us, or we encounter, and making it a little bit more human and personal. Like, I mean, why not? That should have happened so long ago, right? So that's what kind of intrigued me about Taxfix. Like, nobody's done that to that degree.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever made it clean, clear, and friendly and available on mobile. So,
and easily understandable.
Yes.
Like,
so that's one, the problem, and like, I can relate to that. I've done taxes in many countries and they suck. Right?
wow, yeah, that's a nightmare. Like saying you've done taxes in many countries. It
It's
sounds
good luck.
really scary. Yeah.
If you're not a
Sounds
tax
like-
advisor, good luck.
Yeah, I have a tax advisor here in Germany because I figure I wouldn't have done that on my own. Like also the language barrier.
Yes.
Because the good thing of solutions like Taxfix is that you can file the taxes, for instance, in English or Italian or whatever.
Yes.
You can just translate it because the core app doesn't change anyway and the result doesn't change, but you can translate it in Italian and offer to all Italian people living in Germany.
Yeah, it's
tax
linguistically inclusive, right?
Yeah.
Which is one thing. And another thing was the team.
It's including in any way because also like you cannot go to the tax advisor office, but you are somewhere where like even in Berlin right now there is this big need for advisors and tax advisors, and they are so busy that they're not accepting any more customers. So taking away the load from those experts
and try to talk to them in English. Good luck.
Yeah, well, also that's true.
That's another thing. Like specialists, which is very normal. That if you're a specialist in a very unique field.
Yeah, which is a similar thing of what is happening with doctors, for instance. Like doctors not accepting any new patients in busy areas of Berlin. No,
I have a recommendation for that. There's a French startup, Dr. Leap.
Okay. Dr. Leap.
Yes.
Hmm.
And that's how I know them. That's how I went to doctors in France. Like my French is limited to just food vocabulary, right?
Okay.
You just have the whole platform with being able to register to specific doctors online with a very friendly notification system to remind you about appointments. And it works very well in Berlin too.
And it's for booking appointments to doctors. Okay, Dr. Lee, I will definitely check
and
it out.
Works
because I
well.
moved to a new district recently. And now, I need to find a doctor that is close by, like a family doctor kind of thing. And
so you have all the information about specific doctors from languages that they speak, etc.
That's really
and you do the entire booking online.
And you do that in Berlin. You use this app in Berlin as well. That's super cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Don't go for the old school. Go for
Dr. Lee.
Yes.
All right. That's a very good thing to know.
That's one thing I took out of friends. Very valuable.
That is great. So what else? Like, what are the things we talk about? The work and what is your job right now in the company? Like, what is that you do? Like, you are behind one of the most promising startups in Germany and probably in the world. I would say. Having worked closely to Taxfix, I think it's like technology-wise, it's unbelievably good, and I think it's gonna do great in the future. I'm sure of that. It's just a breakthrough in tech. But apart from that, what is that you like to do in Berlin? Like you've lived in Paris, so I guess you can also compare the lifestyle a little bit and the differences. Like, how do you feel about Berlin?
So I think it offers a lot, and it's a nice combination between a city and nature, because you just take S-Bahn, which is the metro system, sort of metro system in Berlin, and U-Bahn, and in 30 minutes you're in the lakes. So what I really like in Berlin, and I missed a lot in Paris, was that proximity to nature. I come from the countryside, so it kind of calls home. That's one thing. That's what I do enjoy doing in Berlin.
And nature is also in the city everywhere.
Yes, and there's a lot of space.
A lot of parks.
And not only parks, because in Paris there's tons of parks. They're absolutely beautiful, but they're perfectly trimmed. And you're not allowed to sit on the grass. So they're very enjoyable to look at and to stroll around. But in Berlin, people bring their barbecue and they can sit there the whole day. It's meant for people to use, which I appreciate.
That is quite cool. Actually, yes. I think as a tourist, I wouldn't expect to see that in Berlin the first time. Like, I wouldn't expect to be in the capital of Germany, go to a park and see people like grilling their food and with their whole families.
It's pretty ugly. If you arrive here the first time and the weather is bad, you get a terrible. The impression is not the best.
Yeah.
It can look very gloomy and weird.
But this is something that I really like. I don't know you, but I really like this diversity of Berlin from winter and summer. In the sense that winter is gray, like today it's very gray here. It's horrible also for the lights. But then in summer it just blooms and it's this beautiful green city full of life and people are outside all the time. You could be outside in the park. I remember like going after like outside of work and going directly to a park with a bike and chill there for I don't know 1 hour.
And that's another thing, going with a bike.
Yeah.
You can really go everywhere with a bike in Berlin. So yeah.
You're using the bike also winter?
Yes. I have my helmet here in the back.
You came with the bike?
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
So like I guess like you enjoy a lot nature basically.
Yes, I mean.
In summer, I guess. Like,
yeah, I mean.
Winter, it's a bit.
It's not bad. See, I'm an optimist in that regard, and I'm very appreciative. I come from Poland, south of Poland.
Okay.
So
yeah.
when people told me it's going to be very cold, I was expecting the worst of the worst, and then it's -5 and it rains sometimes. Sure, it's not as nice as summer.
Which is actually, I haven't seen -5 this year at all. Actually, it's been very warm.
Exactly.
As warm as south of Italy or something. It's incredibly good. We've been lucky so far.
I know.
Just February,
I know.
March can be intense, but hopefully we'll be okay.
Yeah.
And climate change.
I know, climate change.
I don't know.
That's a big topic. That's a separate podcast of its own.
Let's leave it for later. Look, I wanted to ask you one last question. Sounds really cool what you do, and of course, it's not easy to explain it in just a few words and 10 minutes or something. So, like, is there any book that you would recommend to somebody that wants to start being a PM, for instance, or work in a startup?
So, yes, there's a bunch of really good books, and there's people who know their stuff. So, Inspired from Martha Kagan.
Inspired.
Yes,
Okay.
really good book. It explains the basic of how product management works. There's a bunch of others that focus on specific areas, like Hooked, which talks about very engaging products and how were these designed and tested, which is a very cool way to explain, okay, so somebody actually thought this through. And I do highly recommend reading a lot of blogs because it is a newer field. And the freshest information and experience you can get from people that are willing to share it.
So like Medium, is there any blog that you
Yes.
follow that it's cool and it's good to check
Mind the Product is a company that offers a lot of courses for product managers, and they also organize a lot of meetups. So they have an amazing blog.
Mind the Product.
Yes.
It's all one word.
Mind the Product. They organize conferences. They have a bunch of YouTube videos where you can watch people talking about their day-to-day job. And in majority of bigger cities, they do organize meetups. So if you're curious about product management, you want to understand it better and meet some people and understand what the hell do they do, just go to one.
And how do they do it?
Yeah, just go to one.
Okay. And meetups, do you go to any meetup in Berlin, or would you recommend anything? Or
I do.
Because I see that there are a lot of stuff around, but I'm not sure if there is anything
Sometimes
about PM.
Sometimes I do when there's an interesting topic. I think for a person who's interested in understanding the industry in general, like fintech or just understanding product management, there's a lot of general ones. But the ones I go to are more specialized or of companies that I'm curious about how they work. So I know that other startups like Billy or many other that are in Berlin organize regular startups just even to unite people working in Berlin in the same industry. So those are the ones I would go to.
Okay, so I will check it out actually as well. Well, then thank you very much, and talk to you soon. Maybe again in Taxfix.
Like, if there's anything, if someone is ever interested in being a product manager and has any questions and sees this, like, I also have a LinkedIn profile. You can poke me. I'm not an asshole. I might even respond. So
okay, that's great. I can put the link. Yes. Attach the link to the description.
Yeah,
so somebody can get in touch with you and us.
This is what I did when I started, and I didn't know really what to do. I reached out to random people to ask them how's their experience.
About reaching out to people, are you aware of the fact that Taxfix is in any way searching for PM or?
I think so. We do have a careers website, which I highly recommend to visit because that is really up to date. People are pretty on point. So if there's something coming up, it's there.
So they can check that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's perfect. Well, then thank you again, Anna. It's been a pleasure. And
We both like Berlin, it looks like.
yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, talk to you soon.